Yes, guys, welcome back to flatcapeurotalk. It's been a while. It's been a while since a live stream, but I am looking forward to this one. We're doing a big debate. Probably might end up agreeing on a lot of things because that's probably why Darius is on this channel so much. Is probably because I agree with him on a lot of different transfer sort of rumors. But we're going to be looking at all the Spurs transfer rumors and basically just lining them up for each position that I think a lot of people want upgrading, a lot of positions that people feel like we need better players in. We'll be looking at kind of the cheapest options that Spurs have been linked with, the kind of the medium, sort of kind of in the middle, sort of kind of range of prices, and the big expensive ones that Spurs have been linked with. And I feel like might end up having some different takes on ones because who knows? Maybe Darius wants to spend big on a right wing back. Maybe I want to spend big on a center mid. We'll find out. I'm going to try to do some polls as well during the chat as well, but do hope everybody does enjoy this one. I think it's going to be nice because usually before Darius, I feel like, we've always kind of talked about, oh, well, it'd be nice if we signed this dream guy that I've always been about. But this time we're kind of looking at the ones that are just, on Spurs web, the ones that are just being linked with Fabrizio Romano and stuff. So we're having to limit ourselves here.
But even them, those links that I'm seeing from players. I mean, I saw I think the piece that Jack Pitt-Brook put out on the Athletic about the shortlist for centre backs that we were looking at.
Unbelievable.
Any four of them I would take in a heartbeat. And I mean, if that's the sort of market we are looking in and we are shopping around, even if we don't land, like you say, the top of them, if that's the four shortlist, or like I said, all three of them are all talented in their own regard. So yeah, I mean, I actually do believe and like I said, I'm not guaranteeing it yet, but fingers crossed, if we do get top four and our manager stays and our best striker stays, I think we have a lot of reasons to convince very, very good, if not world-class players to come and join. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what sort of players you have on this list and who we're going to choose and who we're going to select, because I think it's not going to necessarily be the players that we disagree with, but where we're going to allocate the biggest amount of funds and where we think is the most important place to upgrade. Because I've had a few arguments on Paxton Road about what we think is the most important place to upgrade. Mike, Mike's definitely waving the centre back flag. So, but I think there's a few other places
wrong, I think on that one though.
Yeah, I think there's a few more important places. I think when we get into it, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to discuss it and have our thoughts on it.
Love it. Well, I know you and I are kind of similar in that we always kind of like to make it a lot harder on ourselves. We don't ever, give the answer like, oh, whatever Conte wants, or, oh, like, 70 million pounds, whatever it takes. Feels like you and I are a bit crazy, where we just kind of like to say, you know what? Well, if you can get 15 million off, you can get 15 million off. I think it's going to be a good kind of debate. We do already have Ben Kaufman in the building. Good to see you, my man, as well. And he's saying De Vrij will always love you. He's going to be in there, my man. Not a bit of a leak. He is going to be in there. Para Miguel Escobedo saying where we need, or Kev G, sorry, I got used to Para Miguel Escobedo. He's always orange on my kind of logo, and he's always first in as well. But it's Kev G this time beating him out, saying where we need to upgrade will 100% depend on who the manager will be. Yeah, I mean, I think Antonio Conte is starting to show his allegiance to Spurs. There's kind of this big kind of understanding that wherever Kane goes, Conte goes. It's almost like a package of some sort, where whatever they're feeling, the other one is feeling. And it feels like Kane is kind of keeping his, confidence and his allegiance with Spurs, especially because I know his options aren't really, very plentiful.
Especially with new news coming out as well, yeah.
Correct, with the big Holland news. And maybe actually, Darius, just while people are piling in, maybe I know you and I have been kind of secretly kind of closeted, sort of fans or admirers of Tuchel, but to find out that he's actually Arteta in, and to find out that Tuchel is a bit of a sabotager, for the scum was a bit surprising. I must say, I lost some Tuchel kind of respect points last night.
I mean, they played well. They dominated the game. I looked at the Arsenal squad, and when I see Nketiah is starting, I'm going to take 35% of the blame for the loss yesterday, because you should have seen the stuff I was saying to my friend. I watched it with a Chelsea fan who's a friend of mine, and I was just giving so much slack to Nketiah. I was like, this guy, I can't remember the last time this guy scored. He's missed obvious chances, and then he goes and, Christian gives him the gifts of gifts, and he puts it away, and then he obviously gets another gift and puts it away, and Saka scores a penalty.
I'd classify them as 4 gifts, to be honest. Like Christensen is a gift, and then the other Nketiah goal was just like, what, it was like pinball machine, kind of just bouncing back and forth between
the
players.
Smith Rowe goal, I'll put my hands up. That was an incredible finish. Very, very cool. Finish. Right in the corner. But I mean, they took their chances. It just makes it a little bit more dicey. Don't forget, I've always held the notion that Arsenal is in Arsenal's hands, because if they win all their games, they are qualified for the Champions League, which mathematically makes it seem to me that it is in their hands. And I still hold that regard. And I just believe that it's too difficult for them to win every single game. They still have to play West Ham. They still have to play United. Leeds is not going to be an easy game. Newcastle's not going to be an easy game. We still have to play them as well. So we can determine how this goes. You know, I mean,
I would even say that Smith Rowe goal was a gift, because I remember I was like, how did Granit Xhaka get away with that? He tried to meg 2 players in his own box, and both of them were like went off the inside of the heel of each Chelsea player. And I was like, how did he just get away with like trying
everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. I think we all wanted them to lose too much, and it just makes it a little bit more entertaining. I am fully on the train that Sky Sports and match fixing these games just so the North London derby is like a do or die. I mean, you can call that a joke, you can call that conspiracy, but if that came out 20 years later that they did that, I would not be surprised one bit. So let's just make sure that we can, keep our responsibility and win our games and not worry about what Arsenal are doing, because if we win our games, we should qualify. So yeah, that's my notion. Just focus on us. It just makes it a bit more exciting for the neutrals.
I like it. I like you playing. I appreciate taking part in the conspiracy theories with me, for that one, because I must say, like I said before, we're kind of secret admirers of Thomas Tuchel, and to see him, clearly put his allegiance towards the Arteta in movement, I don't know, just lost some.
That was ridiculous, by the way. I can't believe the team that he put out. When I saw that team, I was personally offended, and like I sort of was like, you know what, Tuchel kind of respects us, because he never gives us a chance like that. He's always.
It seems like he would rather the scum make it into top 4 than he wants to see Spurs.
He seems to want to play Malang Sarr and Christensen and everyone, and Lukaku, who genuinely had an awful game that game. Havertz came on and made a difference. So for me, it was just Tuchel. Yeah, I think you're pretty much right. I think Tuchel was like, you know what, I want to see it get a bit dicey towards the end. We're safe. We're all right.
A fan of the Lego hair. A fan of the Lego hair, I guess.
Don't like it, mate. Don't like it.
Martin Walton in the house, one of the absolute OGs and absolute goats of this channel as well. Always putting in the comments, always putting in the very smart comments as well. But by the very smart profile pick as well. Martin looking very clever there, my man. Moondog in the house as well, just saying, I just hope we don't drag the transfers out. I mean, no Paratici, like I said, he's already running up the phone bill, Moondog. He's already running it up. We got Robbie in the house as well. Big up Lily White Lane, my man. Kev G saying Chelsea rolled, or maybe they even trolled us, is what I would say, Kev. But SOF saying, good afternoon, guys. Let's do this. I have my opinion on players. SOF, another OG as well in the house. I'm looking forward to it, especially Martin Walton and SOF have to say on some of these players, because I would say, very, very clever bunch. Some of the people in this chat are. Chris, good to see you as well, my man. Always good to see you. Hopefully, Chris, again, they're not just come and run to you, at work, maybe apologizing for all the banter they were giving you about the Newcastle game. I figured they probably owe you at least a month of apologies, Chris. Do let me know how that's going. SOF saying, Haaland going to City means Kane will be here at least until his current contract runs out. He'd be crazy to sign a new one unless Conte signs a long deal. Spurs won't get a better manager. I completely agree, SOF. And I feel like that's what I've sort of meant by their futures are sort of linked and tied together. I feel like the moment that Conte decides to leave, up and go, that's the moment Kane decides to, basically tell them, listen, I'm not going to sign a new contract. You might as well just sell me now if you want to make a penny off of me. And then I feel like he's going to wait until the last possible moment to perhaps extend that contract, even if things are going really, really well. I would imagine just for his own safety, just for his own security, he will wait until the last possible moment.
And why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? I mean,
there's no incentive, to.
Yeah, you just see you wait the
He's
2
making
years
$200K a week anyway. Like, I don't.
No problem for him to wait the 2 years out. If we seem to be going in the right direction, I'll be like, yeah, commit. If not, I think in 2 years' time, the landscape of football seems to change quite a lot, quite quickly at the moment. So I think, like you said, in 2 years' time, there may be an opportunity for, even like you said, something as crazy as the Liverpool opportunity may arise with Firmino going. You never know what can happen in football, and with what can happen in the future, especially with teams seeming to be able to afford players again now, with fans being in the stadium. I think there will be a lot more change in pockets of teams come the future.
Definitely.
And he might go on a free in the 2 years anyway, so they might not even have to spend any money on him.
would want to know what those agent fees would be. Would love to see
Uh,
what those agent fees
that'd
would
be
be for
funny.
the little brother, for the little brother. Romero's Golden Seas in the house as well. Good to see you, my man. And Ash as well, saying bye, Calvin Phillips. Good suggestion, my man.
Heard Conte was a fan of him.
Haven't seen that rumor until like yesterday, so I
Yeah,
didn't really include that one. But that is one that maybe I should have put in there. But we will now move on. Everybody that is now in the house, I think we have around 17, 18. While you're in here, do hit that like button, please. But as well, these are kind of the whole rules of this debate. We are going to be basically going through 6 or 7 major positions that we feel like Spurs need upgrades in. Even Conte the other day says he ideally wanted 6 signings maybe for this summer. We're going to be looking at 6 or 7 positions, and we're going to look at all the rumors that Spurs have been kind of heavily linked with in those sort of positions as well. So it's not going to be me and Darius just dreaming the whole time saying, oh, if only we could sign, Paredes from PSG or, something like that. Only if we found this little deal here and there. We're going to be looking at kind of transfer rumors that I feel like have been in the middle for some time. And we'll be just looking at those only and debating which ones are the best for Spurs. We'll also be kind of ranking them from most expensive to least expensive as well. So feel like it's going to be a good debate no matter what. And I would say, everybody, as much as we all want to go for that nice, shiny, expensive signing, do give some of these cheaper ones a bit of a credit. But maybe a good example would be this right wing back, debate already. We have Jed Spence, who I reckon would be probably around 10 to 15 million
yeah.
pounds, maybe no more than that. Those are the rumors that I'm seeing. Wilfred Singo, I would reckon, would be 25 million, maybe a bit more than that, 30
Mm-hmm.
million you could see him going for. And then Tarek Lamptey, what I think the value is 50 million euros or 50 million pounds or something ridiculous. So he would, of course, be the huge, expensive one. Tarek Lamptey, we're always sort of linked with, regardless of whether we know Spurs could afford it or not. Wilfred Singo is the one that we're seemingly heavily linked with every single day. And then Jed Spence, at times we've been supposedly rumored as kind of the leaders for that one. But Darius, if you feel like you could pick any of these 3, if you were going to maybe pick, take a bit out of the piggy bank for this one, are you going big on Lamptey? Are you going maybe a bit more clever on Singo? Or do you think like Jed Spence is the nice deal there?
I think this perfectly sort of explains our situation that we were describing earlier on, where you have a player who's very, very expensive, in my opinion, in £50 million for Lamptey,
Yeah.
and a player who's very cheap in Jed Spence, who pretty much do the same role, I think, and quite similar as well. I think maybe Lamptey's a better defender, but I think going forward, Jed Spence has that. And when you're being smart in the situation, I think when you're looking to sign a bunch of players in the summer, you have to, like you say, allocate your funds correctly.
Yeah.
And buying Tarek Lamptey, who's injury prone as it is anyway, when there's this basically a cheaper, almost just as good version of it as him for what, half the price, maybe even 3/4 of the price. Go for Jed Spence. You have literally the manager who probably is the best in the world at developing fullbacks. I think Spence and Conte is a match made in heaven. And you've seen what he can do with Sessegnon. I think Spence would be fantastic on the right side. English as well, so it covers that sort of homegrown quota. And I think they've been taking a look at him. He's been playing in a 3 at the back as well for Nottingham Forest as well. So I think they do play 3 at the back for Forest.
Yeah,
so.
no, I think they've been doing a 5 in the back system of some kind.
Yeah.
And I
So
believe as well, like, even the other Borough fullback, Isaiah Jones, is also, doing really, really well. So
yeah.
it's actually kind of a bit interesting that,
Unfortunately,
either or is good.
to be fair, I would like you, if you have any idea, or the comment section, to educate me on Wilfred Singo, because I actually have absolutely no idea who he is. I've never seen him play. Not really. Well, I've probably watched Torino play, but I've not paid attention to him. Don't know how good he is. So I'd love to know if anybody has any information in the comments, or you yourself. I'd love to know about him, because I would include him in this debate, but I just don't know anything about him to sort of compare him to those 2 players. But if I was to compare, obviously Spence and Lamptey, I would go for Spence, just because he's 10 million. You could put those funds into a different position, which probably needed more.
I like the honesty, and I think it's still a good answer, regardless. But with Wilfred Singo, I mean, for this channel, what I might say, one of the best highlight reels we probably have done this season. The
Really?
guy is kind of like, how would I put it? One of those players that has surprising techers for how big he is, I think is what you probably would say.
Is it
Maybe
sort of like
even kind of,
Havertz?
I would actually say, like, remember Thomas Meunier? When Thomas Meunier, in
Oh,
my
in terms of a
opinion, was
right back,
good,
yeah.
I would say, like, as a right wing back, he would be like a Thomas Meunier with much more
Mm,
pace than Thomas Meunier ever had,
mm,
but kind of that clever sort of, ball progression that Thomas Meunier always had. Kind of has the techers that you don't surprise, that surprises you for a big guy. Also runs with a lot of kind of, head steam behind him. So you kind of don't really
mm,
want to get in front of him once he gets going. Knows how to take it past players. I actually would say similar sort of ball progression ability to like someone like Jet Spence, in my
mm,
opinion. The big difference is he doesn't really have as good of like crossing numbers or passing numbers, into the box, I
mhm,
think, as other fullbacks. And that does maybe worry me, but that also could just be because of the way Torino play. Who
mm.
knows? But
And how
I
old is
feel
he?
like I think he's around 22, 23 years
Oh,
old.
he's young. He's young. Okay.
I think he even could be 24. That would be the
Nice.
oldest he is 24.
Nice.
I feel like he is ready for that move to the Premier League. I think he'd be a decent move. But between Jed Spence and Wilfred Singo, I'm with you. I'm not going for Lamptey. Spence, it seems so easy. It seems so easy just to go for that 10, 15 million for Jed Spence. My big problem is that you want that right wing back, right, Darius, to
Mm,
be everything that we've been missing with Emerson and
mm,
Doherty. So are we going to get that with Jed Spence? Maybe he might need a year to develop. Maybe he might
mm,
not be ready for that big step up. I'd like to
mm,
think that he is. But with Wilfred Singo, perhaps there is more of a guarantee that he could hit the ground running and just be an absolute superstar for us. Whereas
mm,
Jet Spence, maybe it won't happen. I don't know. That would be my slight worry there is which one is better. I could make the argument that Wilfred Singo might be a bit of a better player, but Jet Spence is just, I don't know. He's knocking on the door of the Premier League. So who knows? I would
mm.
want to get that guy because I could see Jet Spence being like an Ollie Watkins sort of player where he just hits the ground running the moment he hits the Premier
Yeah.
League, kind of like Ollie Watkins did. So it's tough for me. I've actually voted in the chat for Jet Spence. I sounded like I was going on the Wilfred Singo train the whole time, but I'm going to
Mm,
go with Jet Spence here. My only argument against myself here, Darius, is I feel like what we've been missing is a really good right wing back. And we probably could say if you could spend all the money on it, you would rather spend all the money on that right wing back. But I don't even
mm.
know if there is a world class right wing back out there that Spurs are really linked with. I mean, we're not linked with Hakimi, despite Hakimi, having, kind of some issues over at PSG. We're not linked with Ridley Baku, or anything, um, over at Wolfsburg or anything. So if these are kind of the options for Spurs, I'm not really sure if Tarek Lamptey is worth that price. So
No
I
way.
guess we're going to go with the best option, which might be Jet Spence.
Mm. And I think, to be fair, like you said, for me, I do agree with you in the sense of you want a right back who can do everything that the two that we have can't. But at the same time, I also wouldn't mind a right back that who can just simply create and has high creation numbers because
Mm.
I think a lot of the time and I think the Brighton game's a good example. We need that creativity from the wings sometimes because our system revolves around potentially getting that ball out wide and those fullbacks being involved in play. So I think if it was to be Jet Spence, like you said, if there wasn't an outstanding right back like Hakimi who can do absolutely everything, then you do look at Spence and those players and think, yeah, he's got good numbers to the point where I would think that he would be an improvement on Doherty and Emerson. And even then, I would still keep Doherty because I think he actually has a bit of use. Whereas
Would
I
you
don't
take
think
both? Some
Emerson,
people I think Kev G wants both. Would you get rid of
Singo and
Doherty
Spence,
and
if you got rid of both of our current right backs, yeah, don't see that happening though. I actually see Emerson going this summer. I don't see Doherty going. I actually think because of
yeah?
this injury and because of his form, obviously before this injury happening, I think Conte will be willing to give him time. And I definitely think that Emerson's it was just unlucky. Nuno coming in and switching to Conte, he just got very unlucky. I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming Paratici. I think I'd rather, if I'm going to blame anyone, I will blame Paratici for obviously hiring Nuno and then sacking him and hiring Conte. But it's not really anybody's fault. The manager left and he wasn't bought for the Conte. So just cut your losses, sell him for 20 and like you said, maybe get two new right backs in.
Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro. Sorry. He
Oh, is
loves
that? Oh,
Pedro.
good,
He
good.
loves Pedro
Yeah.
Porro. He loves Pedro Porro. I got him down. I got him down.
Mm,
I think we've gone for Spence here, everybody. It
yeah,
sounds
I
like
agree.
it. And maybe if we were to get two in, could you get Singo? hard to see it happening. Who knows? Maybe we just raid, Burrow for both of their players, just get Isaiah Jones and Spence, put them in the same team, see what happens. But I don't know. It feels like we would want two to come in. And my big issue with Doherty is just the fact that he is turning 31 next season. And I'm wondering, with this big injury, Darius, can he really maintain the same level of form? And can he be good enough as a backup wingback? And can he even be healthy enough as a backup wingback? Because I don't really want another Sessegnon who's supposed to be a backup wingback but can't even be fit, as a
mentioning this. I didn't even mention his age, and that's a really good point. I didn't actually know he was 30 years old. I thought he was like 28, 29. So
no, he's turning 31 next season. We've gotten, we're getting he's aging like a fine wine by the looks of it, Dark.
To be fair, yeah. But yeah, no, if that is the case, that's a really good point. Maybe January, maybe looking for a right back in January potentially to get us through the season if Doherty does get injured. But I think one would be okay for this summer. I think we could get away with getting one very good right back in.
Supposedly the whole chat has gone for Singo here. So I mean, I'm not surprised, it's a very, very, smart and very intelligent chat that we got here. You definitely know their stuff, and they've gone for Singo. Seems like they've gone for maybe the better option in terms of, what actually the ceiling could be. Who knows? Singo might have a higher ceiling than Jed Spence and could actually make maybe a better adjustment into like an Italian version of a 3 in the back, 5 in the back system. It all makes sense. And I will say one of the best highlight reels we've done on this channel as well. But let's move on to kind of a right-sided center back / kind of, I would say Dyer competition / Romero competition. This player, I imagine, and Darius would be kind of like Joe Rodon's replacement, kind of Sanchez's replacement / competing for the first team. We've been linked with De Vrij for 16 million, absolute steal when you look at it. We do have Gleison Bremer, though, who's basically the Romero from last season, or the Romero of this season in the Serie A. The guy's getting like 6 or 7 tackles and interceptions per 90. And then De Ligt, has been linked a few times with Spurs because maybe a bit unsettled, I believe, over there. But what are your takes here, Darius? You could go for that. The second Romero, it's almost like they just reincarnate Romeros every season over in the Serie A. Or would you go for maybe that, nice, cheap, and classy kind of De Vrij, or just go big on De Ligt? I know David has actually gone big on De Ligt here, which might be a bit of a hot take, but
I think that's a burning take, to be honest with you, because I don't think that we're actually in need of a right centre back at all. I think we would, if we could, I think we could completely skip this sort of position and not being a problem. I think genuinely.
Would you keep Sanchez or Joe Rodon around as potentially, a backup if Dyer Romero got hurt?
I would keep. Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know if I
think that's why it's here. I think
that's okay, and that's why I would go De Vrij, because again, I think experience is a very important part of Conte's squad building, and to build a squad with good quality.
I feel like De Vrij is not getting bought as a left-sided center back. He's probably getting bought as like a competition for Dyer.
Yeah,
right?
I think that would be perfect. I think again, knows Conte, knows the system. I think Bremer's decent. I think he's a good player. I think if you get him in a double deal with Singo, then that could make sense. De Ligt, I like De Ligt. I've always liked De Ligt. I think obviously being a 19-year-old captain for Ajax, get to the semi-final, and sort of the performance he was putting in those seasons was quite ridiculous. But I actually think he's not been that good for Juve, and I do think he has to be not necessarily has to be next to somebody with a lot of talent, because I think obviously he had the legends next to him who taught him a lot, and probably when he leaves Juventus and goes to a club with a centre back like a Romero or like a Bastoni or somebody like that, where he could partner them, I think he would look a lot better. But I don't think it's necessary to spend the money on him. I think it'd be more necessary to spend the money on the left centre back. So to be honest with you, I'm gonna go for Stefan De Vrij, just because again, it makes the most sense, and it's cheap, and he knows he understands that system. Again, he's not English, but we can worry about that sort of quota later on, because I think it's more important to fit the system than it is to sort of get a marquee signing or get somebody who's young and very talented, because it doesn't make any sense if they're not going to play well. You go and get somebody who's like 80 million, like, I don't know. I know Luis Diaz would have fit a system like that, but if you don't get somebody like Luis Diaz who's for example, this is in Liverpool's case, he so perfectly fits that system. It looks like a very, very, very good deal. But
Mm-hmm.
if you put Luis Diaz in Man United in January, I don't think he's going to look as good as he has. So I just think it's so important. It's so important about matching that system and finding the right player for it. So yeah, I'm just going to go De Vrij and save my funds
Save your
for a later.
cash.
Yeah, save my funds for a later position.
I kind of have to agree with you there. I mean, I'm kind of a bit worried about Bremer because with Bremer, like, do you want two Romeros in a team?
That
Like,
could be
yes and
risky.
no. Like, to be honest, Pepe is one of my favorite players of all time. So, like, me, I'm kind of like, the kind of the almost the Simeone side of me is like, yes, get those two in right
Mm.
away. But kind of the realistic side is like you can only have maybe one Romero type player, and especially in a back three where you need at least one of them, to keep their head and keep their position. So having both of them in there, who knows? Maybe we'll just win every single, tackle high up the pitch, but then we'll just leave the whole defense, open and Dyer all by himself back there. So who knows? But
Probably be able to
it
handle it, to be fair, Dyer.
probably could. And maybe when you have that many swarming you, it's just you don't even
Mm.
want to try to attack. Delict, I know David went for. Could you make that case, Darius? Let's say it could be that future Dyer replacement. And we just saw the other day with Dyer getting absolutely spun by that. I mean, I would say quite average Trossard, kind of dummy. I
Mm.
mean, kind of makes you think like, I know Dyer's been good for us this season and we wouldn't be challenging for top four without him, but you also feel like there are moments when Moon Boots does really show, like he isn't as
Mm.
world class as other center backs.
I do think Delict is a very good centre back, but I think with centre backs, centre back seems like a position where you do have to really, not. And I hate this cliche saying about you have to know the league and you have to buy a centre back who knows the league. But with that position of centre back, I think Delict looks like it could be exposed quite easily. And I know he plays in a 3 for Juventus, and I know he's a very good centre back, but I don't think he would work in the Premier League. I don't know. I have my doubts with Delict in the Premier League, and I think
Really, I have
him.
more doubts about De Vrij in the Premier League because
I
my feeling is that De Vrij is like a typical, beautiful, like Serie A center back.
mm.
But at this age, at this time, can he make that move
But
to the
this is what I
Premier
mean.
League? Is he
If you
like a
protect
Thiago
him,
Silva where he can just make that transition, no problem? I'm
if
worried.
protected around, and this is why I think we'll get onto left centre back soon. But if you protect him around two incredible centre backs, I think it would work. Whereas Delict, for me, yes, it would guaranteed work probably, and I think it would be fine in the Premier League. I'm not saying he wouldn't do well in the Premier League. I just think I might doubt. I just think to spend what was it, 7? It's going to be more than 70 million because that's what they spent on him. To spend what 80, 90 million on Delict, I don't think is going to improve the team as much as you sort of spending 80, 90 million on, I don't know, a centre mid, an attacking mid, a striker, and even a left centre mid, even 2 wing backs. That's why I wouldn't go for it. I'm not saying Delict would be a bad choice at all. I think he would be. I just think that for Tottenham and all of us Spurs fans know sort of it will be tight, the spending. It's not going to be like you can get any player you want. I just don't think Delict would make the most sense to improve our team the most. That's my main reason for it.
I don't think Elvedi is going on a free. By the looks of it, it says it's 2024. But
Okay.
I was just like, I almost like immediately just started making a panic buy. Like if I had like something available on the Amazon shopping list, I almost just bought it right away because if Nico Elvedi was available on a free, that would be our left-sided center back just fixed, right away there. But I think he's, according to Transfermarkt, says it's in 2024. Alejandro, but I would say this guy also has, he knows his stuff, so maybe I could be wrong. Ben Kaufman saying Delict as a middle of a 3, brilliant on the floor, strong in the air, brilliant from set pieces. I also wanted De Vrij. I would say that every time I watch Craig Dawson, just do that human missile, sort of like approach, to in the corners. It reminds me of Delict. I feel like Delict is a bit similar,
Delict
like
is
those
a
players
beast,
that
yeah.
just wherever the ball is, it's almost like they're a magnet and they just like
Don't care
launch their head
they
at
go
it.
through.
They would crack their own head open just to get the ball there. And I feel like sometimes you need a guy like that from set pieces. Delict is one of those players. I think Craig Dawson is the best example of that sort of player.
But do you know what else you need, Jack? If you're going to have somebody who can do that, somebody who could actually take set pieces, which again, I think is something that we are so void of.
Point.
I mean, that again, we'll get into. I don't think there's many fullbacks that do take the greatest of set pieces, but further up the field, I think if we are going to get somebody who's going to be able to, you know, put a very, very, very good ball in, you have to win, or you have to at least be able to put the ball in first before they win that header. So, yeah, I that's my mindset with the midfielders. Hopefully, when we get to the midfield, I'll be able to explain it as well.
We got royalty in the house. Matty Hayes in here. And Matty, do let me know what you've been voting for this whole time as well, brother. But he's saying, don't know what's better, this duo or Darius's jersey. I'm not sure as
Oh,
well. I will say, though.
messed up now. It's messed up now. It's peeling and everything, but couldn't miss this year. This is one of my favorite jerseys, definitely. They barely wore it.
Back.
They wore it a couple times, didn't they? On the pitch.
I actually, to be fair, like I feel like only a few times that I can recall. Like,
I think they wore it like twice or something. It was like a fourth kit. It wasn't even a third kit. It was like a fourth kit with Air Max on it. Yeah, had to get it.
Once you get to the neon, you know, colors, yeah, you know, they're running out of ideas. Maybe
but it's gray and neon. I've not seen that one before. I was gonna say.
Definitely, but good to have you in here, Matty. Absolute legend, and honestly, it's beautiful to have you in here. To be honest, I'm actually quite touched and quite honored. And I must say, everybody in the chat so far, 28 to around 30 in the house already. People seem to be enjoying it. Really would appreciate if everybody hit that like while you're in here, so we can get it out to more and more people. But so far, I think gone for De Vrij. I think both of us might have gone for De Vrij. I'm going to make my vote right now. I'm also going to go for a cheaper option. Darius and I, again, probably making life tough on ourselves by continuing to go for the cheaper options here. But I've gone for De Vrij. So far, the chat has mostly gone for him as well. Bremer falling in second, and then De Ligt going for third. It is very much a flat cap stream when you see that the most expensive option is never the favorite option of the people here. We like to make it difficult on ourselves. We do have Marquise in the house as well. Good to see you, Marquise. Alexander Hilton as well. Gary O'Reilly, good to see you. Spurs 72 as always, absolute legend. Kuva 99 as well. Ian Ferguson, good to see you, my man. Zana, I've been loving these comments as well. Zana knows her stuff, I can tell. Bobby K, of course, is in the house. Absolute legend. And then I think there was another one that I definitely haven't seen in a while. Martin Walton, of course, absolute legend. But Ayanami, that's right. Ayanami is in plenty of the comments I've seen before as well. Good to see you. Good to see you. Really do appreciate everybody tapping in for this one. But we're going to move on to the next one here. And this is probably the one, a good debate. Left-sided center back. And there's not really a cheap option, I feel like, that we're going for. It seems like the one that Spurs are kind of willing to spend bigger on, Darius, by the rumors.
Thank God about that as well. Thank God.
Schlotterbeck, you know, the one that I probably would have gone with actually is actually off the menu.
Apparently, is that yeah. God,
Dortmund have gone for him and Adeyemi this summer, which I would say I was going to make a video on, you know, how to fix Borussia Dortmund, but it seems like they're fixing it themselves because they're really making up for what I thought have been some really poor transfer dealings.
And apparently Nicolas Sula's already, I think he's confirmed as well to be going to Dortmund.
Good Hummels replacement, you know, maybe a good Hummels replacement. Nicolas Sula, good on the ball, huge, massive, you know, as well. I mean, I think Dortmund are actually maybe fixing some past mistakes. And then if they keep Jude Bellingham around, I mean, that team could just be absolutely ridiculous. But Sven Botman, Gvardiol, Bastoni. Gvardiol, we're constantly linked with him. It doesn't make sense, though, because he's just moved there, you know, with also Tedesco having this beautiful football and, you know, making RB Leipzig look exactly like the team they should be. Feels really hard to try to convince Gvardiol to come over to, you know, the Premier League, especially over to Spurs, but it is the one that we're constantly linked with. So I just had to honor, you know, what the rules were, and I had to put him in there. But Sven Botman, Gvardiol, or Bastoni, the beautiful Bastoni there. What do you go for here, Darius?
I love Josko Gvardiol.
You've saved up your money so far.
I do love Josko Gvardiol. I think he's a very, 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 very good centre back. And I didn't realise he was left-footed until that article came out. And I was like, wait, why is Gvardiol?
He's even better.
Is he a right-footed left centre back? I was like, what? And then someone was like, no, he's left-footed. I was like, what? That makes him even better. The fact that he did go to Leipzig makes me think that's completely out of the cards. And Botman seems like he's going to AC Milan. Schlotterbeck seems like he's going to Dortmund. So, I mean, our options seem limited. But if I'm going to chuck all my money onto one side, and I don't know why it wouldn't be Bastoni. I think it ticks every single box that you would possibly want to tick for a left centre-back at Tottenham. Current Tottenham Hotspur. Paratici would be able to get that deal done, I think. It very heavily depends on us getting into the Champions League, but let's say we do. no worries about Champions League football for Bastoni. He's 22 now, I think, so Levy shouldn't have an issue with the age. He's got experience. He's won the league. He's played under Conte before. I mean, what else could you ask for? And just the play style of him. I mean, I'm not seeing many centre backs take a ball forward like he does and be able to, distribute a ball in sort of short and long range passing. I mean, he basically is almost like a defensive midfielder that just floats around that left side, gets near both sides of the box. He is everything that I think we need for a left centre back. And if we were to go and say drop £70 million on him and break our record for a transfer signing, I would not be mad at that at all. I think that'd be perfectly worthwhile. I think you'd be able to sell him for 100 million in 2 years' time, exactly like Romero. I think Romero is probably worth 100 million now, as it is, in my opinion, anyway. So I think it's an absolute no-brainer. I think you have to go all out for Bastoni. I don't know who you would go for as a second option, as a backup, but if you get top four, if you still have Conte in your team, and if you are very serious about, investing in a left centre back, that would be perfect. And Ben Davies would be an absolutely perfect backup left centre back as well. So I think
you saved your money well, Darius, and I think you've spent it well. And I think you've spent it well. You've saved a few weeks' wages. Decide, what, I'm not, going to spend it all on the club this weekend. Going to stay in for the weekend. Going to, have a few, top ramens at home, have a few pot noodles at home, save up on the money, and then you spend it on a Bastoni. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm going to do the same thing. And Darius, I'm going to get a bit frustrated with you here because I'm going to need you to start saying things that I disagree with. But hopefully we get further down to.
I promise we're not doing this.
I couldn't disagree with you, or I couldn't agree with you more because Bastoni is by far already perhaps the best left-sided center back in a back three in the world. Like, I don't really know if there is one that is better, like even regardless of age. Like, I'm trying to find one that would be one with more experience, that one for the here and now. But like Bastoni's for the here and now. He's already good enough. He's already practically the best in his sort of specialized position in the world anyways. He's one of the best on the ball for a center half in the world. It's just like, no matter how young he is, he's already practically the best there is.
It fits. Everything about it fits. The thing for me is the age is okay. Age is one thing. Yeah, you need to be of some age to have a certain amount of experience. But for me, to be in a title winning side and to be a pivotal part of a title winning side is experience that you can't really obtain unless you are in it. If you know what I mean, you could be 31 years old, for example. You could be like Harry Kane and Son. Harry Kane and Son have never won a title before, and they would never have that experience unless they win a title. I think just being able to be in that title race, being in a title race is important, but being in a title race and winning that title race, and it was a tight one as well. That they had to pretty much not fight for it, but they had to do quite a lot to secure that. And I do believe that it's that experience, especially from a centre back, that is so important. And I think him to slot into that left centre back with Dyer, with Romero, I think is a very, 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 very good centre-back partnership. And worst comes to worst, I mean, if you do want to get another centre-back into him to improve on Dyer, even if you don't, those two centre-backs in Romero and Bastoni, if you wanted to go to a four at the back, I think would work quite well as well. I know they both don't really have much experience in a four, but if Dyer was having stinkers and not doing anything well, which he's not, to be fair, he's doing very well, I think you could probably go to a four potentially with those young centre backs learning. But no, this is where I'm spending the money. I'm definitely spending the big money in left centre back because you secure this for the next 5 years, and then I don't really see much that we have to do for our defensive line going forward. Then, even if, like you say, you do lose Antonio Conte in the future.
Ooh, it is a tough, and this one's the most brutal and unanimous. I'm seeing 83%. For Bastoni.
Yeah, no surprise.
That's really tough. And a lot of people are making good cases for Gvardiol. It seems like a lot of Gvardiol fans in here.
He is amazing. I do see it. I just think it's not necessarily him, the player, because again, if you were to drop 70 on either of those two, I'd be happy. I just think he literally joined Leipzig. This season he joined them.
Yeah, he joined them.
Literally joined them. Yeah, this season. I don't see how Leipzig would sell him, especially with them probably being in the Champions League next season. I mean, they've got Europa League final to play. Or Europa League semi-final to play coming up. I think they'll be in the Champions League next season. I think under Tedesco, I think if they don't obviously that's Leipzig's model to sell all their players. I think if they keep Nkunku and a couple other players, they could actually potentially, be around that third place a lot closer to Dortmund.
They're almost kind of arrogant the way they kind of even. What was the price they set in Cuckoo for? Like 54 million.
It's ridiculous that they
Like
know
you're
that
just kind of
they
like,
probably
are they
they
that
probably know
confident they can
already
just
that they
find
have.
another
Yeah, they
Nkunku?
probably
If they
have one
are, that's
already.
scary. That's
I think they
scary if
have
they
one
know they can.
already, either at Salzburg or in their academy or scouting ready, like in a club, literally playing now, where they're thinking, okay, if we lose this guy who's got almost 40 goal involvements this season,
That's
then we
scary.
can easily find a replacement for him. And 54 million from Kunku, anybody who gets him, and I'm seeing Arsenal linked to him, anybody who gets him, you're going to be laughing. So,
I
yeah,
don't
I
like to
just
think
think,
that Nkunkus grow on trees, but I guess if you have a scouting department like Leipzig, I guess they do,
and
according to them.
that's why I've sort of like a lot of my, even if we don't sort of sign a lot of players from those clubs and sort of Leipzig's and Dortmund's and Ajax's, even if you buy from them, they're never going to sell like Gravenberch going to Bayern Munich. They're never going to
20
sell
million.
they're never going to sell these amazing players for expensive because they don't care about that one. That's not like going to be the only player that they're going to sell for that big
They're
price.
not crying
They're
out
going to have
for it.
another
Yeah.
player. No, they're not desperate for that money like that. So they will sell that player for a cheaper fee just because they know that they can make money later on. So I just say go to those teams and buy. Just because you get them for a lower price doesn't mean they're any worse than a Haaland going for 80 million or whatever, going for Declan Rice going for 100 odd. It doesn't make them any worse or better because of their fee. Do you know what I mean? So
I think
yeah,
that's well put.
that would be the one, but I don't think Vardiol or Bastoni would be hard to get as well, to be fair. But I think there's a better chance and a better route to Bastoni than there is to Josko Vardiol.
Martin Walton saying left field pick for left-sided center back, if you pardon the pun, Facundo Medina from Lille. Basically a left-footed Romero, super aggressive and a decent passer. I thought he was actually at a different club than Lille. Maybe he moved there this January, but let me check on that. I've heard him mentioned so many times to me, and I've yet to do the scout report on him. But at this moment in time, he plays for Lens, or Lens, yeah. But maybe that was just a typo, perhaps by Martin. But to be fair, like Martin, I think was the first guy to ever tell me about Facundo Medina, actually outside the box, left-sided center back. But it seems like Martin in this case, again, I love it because we're going for cheaper options. I'm actually a bit surprised by maybe Levy hasn't outsourced, people like Martin Walton, SOF, and people like that, because he'd be saving them a penny, every single season, because they say, Levy, they keep telling you to get Bastoni, but we found the other Bastoni in the league. He would love people like us, to be honest, because that's what he's looking for, is the cheaper alternative to the next best thing. But Martin Walton, I would say Facundo Medina will definitely do that scout report on him. But feels like Bastoni, it's just too easy. Everybody's saved up their money so far and has gone for him. I've seen Zoe gone for Lacroix. I really like that one as well, or Maxence Lacroix. I think that's not a bad idea either. We have Kieran O'Connell in the house as well. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I must say, we're being greeted by royalty tonight. Absolutely loving everybody popping in. Kieran, we've covered center back for kind of, a dire replacement. We've covered right wing back, of course. Started off with that one. And then we finished off left-sided center back. And of course, as you can see, we kind of rank them in terms of like what the price would be for. Bastoni is creme de la creme. He's going to be expensive. Gavardiol and Botman, I would say Gavardiol might be a bit more expensive than Botman, but still probably around that medium sort of price. Bremer, I imagine around 30 to 40 million. De Ligt is around 70 million. De Vrij 16 million. So there's kind of the range of kind of the prices. Same thing with Jed Spence there. So I do hope you can follow along with it. But we are now going to move on to left wing back. Just wanted to say hello to John Stokes, Alejandro Perez, loving the comments as well. Simon Stevens, good to see you in here, and plenty of others. I mean, we have 36 in the house right now. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in. But left wing back, I mean, Dave and I have a really tough opinion. I actually don't think we need to get a left wing back for next season, but
I think
considering the Regulon performance, might as well honor it. And also considering all the people we've been linked with, again, I have to honor the rules. I have to honor the rules for this show. We are going to be talking about the people we've been linked with. And Perisic, I've seen us be linked with a lot. I've seen Borna Sosa come up a few times, so I might as well throw him in here, just because also I know the very, very clever people that follow this channel know who he is. And then Philip Kostic, of course, the man who almost has more goal involvements and goal contributions than Messi, like the past like few seasons. I think Kostic has. I think he has something like Darius, like more chances created than Messi or something like that. Like the past
I think
few
he's
seasons.
only second to Muller in assists in sort of the past 3 seasons in the
He's
Bundesliga.
ridiculous. He's
I'm
ridiculous.
so happy. I'm sorry, but I'm so happy that you have chosen Kostic as an option, because
Got a
that's
dream.
I literally I'll read out the players, because I've seen a few comments with names of players that I've sort of thought that I just thought these players would be perfect for our team, and nobody seems to be mentioning them. Philip Kostic is one of them. He would be so perfect for a left wing back in a Conte system in the Premier League. What is he, 29? I think he's 28, 29 years old, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to search it now and see how old he is. But again, in terms of like building he is 29 years old. In terms of building a squad around like experienced players who are quality, because again, I don't think it's bad to build around experience. I think Conte needs experience in the team, which is why he signed sort of the Sanchez's and the Youngs and the Kolarovs, and all those players had a reason. For Dow's, they all had a reason to be there. They didn't play that many minutes, but they all had a reason. Kostic is that he fills that experience void, but he's also 100% a starting left wing back for us. And the left boot on him is ridiculous. He can put a ball in better than most players in the world. And I'm telling you now, like you said, the chance creation numbers, everything about him is just so good. It wouldn't be that expensive. I think it would be no more than £20 million, like max. Kostic, that's it. I can't even.
Is it a no-brainer? Is it a no-brainer?
No-brainer for me. There's nobody else I would want.
Wow.
In terms of a left wing back than Philip Kostic. Him and Session to fight for that left wing back place. I think that'd be perfect. I think that'd be absolutely perfect. I think Kostic is the ideal left wing back for us.
Think about all the times, when Reguilon has gotten a bit of a nosebleed, has actually almost fainted when he's gotten into the box, with the shooting chance. My big issue, right, is that with Reguilon, Darius, is that whenever he finds himself in those shooting opportunities, he seems to turn into the opposite player. He's actually very good at getting himself, I think, into those scoring opportunities. But once he gets there, he just all of a sudden just capitulates. Do you feel like Kostic is the best version of a player that when he's in those opportunities, you're just not even questioning that he's going to put it away? Like he is the most lethal in those.
I think it's also just, I'm very much, I don't know how you feel about it, but I had this conversation with a friend of mine. This may be sad of me. A lot of people like players because of their heart, their desire, their fighting spirit. And for me, that I value that a lot, but I can't rate a player who's got no technical ability. So I have no ratings for Wan-Bissaka. Don't really rate Michail Antonio like that, because their technical ability is not that high. That's just me personally. I have no problem with people thinking they're good players, but that's just me personally. I just don't really like players like that. With Kostic, and the reason I say that is because Kostic is the opposite of that. If he was to just put a ball in the box from, let's say, an odd side on the left, maybe 25 yards from the box on the left
40
side,
yards even.
40 yards from the box on the left, I think he put a competent ball in just because of his quality and the power of his crossing. And to have that in your team, to have somebody who 90% of the time is going to give you an opportunity just because they've got good quality and an ability to put a ball in the box like that is so important. And I just could imagine. Could you just imagine? I'm just thinking about it now. Like all the times that Reguilon has been given so much space on that left-hand side, all he has to do is put a good ball in the box. Son would be top goal scorer, and Kane would be probably second or third.
Reggie could have 5 goals this season.
And he would have 5 goals and 3 assists as well. And that's what I'm saying. It stresses me out because everyone's like, okay, cool, we still are creating chances, we still are scoring. And I'm like, just think about how much more output we would have if these fullbacks were any good at what they were meant to be doing. And that's why I'm just saying Philip Kostic, even if, like you said, he didn't have the best game in the world, if he was pissed off and he was like, fuck it, I'm just, excuse my language, I'm going to put a ball in the box.
No.
I think it will probably go to a player's feet and they will probably score. And that's why I just think for quality alone, and obviously the stats all back it up. And if you watch
to back you up even further, I think we have the 3rd most chances missed this season.
Exactly. His stats back it up in terms of chance created. You watch him and you can see he's got a good, decent pace. He's got a good ball in. I think he's got a good engine. I just think it makes the most sense. And I think, again, some people are saying £15 million for Philip Kostic. I mean, send Reguilon back to Real Madrid for 40 and buy Philip Kostic for 15, and you got 25 million profit right there. That's what you call sort of doing business. That is doing business, because it's not a bad thing to understand that you may have made a mistake with players and you may just have to cut your losses. It's not a bad thing to. In fact, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do that. So yeah, for me, I think everybody in the comment section are giving me fat. I mean, Ayanami says that Kostic has had almost 200 crosses with a 26% cross accuracy. If a quarter of your crosses are hitting players, that is very, very impressive. Almost 200 crosses and over a quarter of them are hitting players. That's a no-brainer for me. So I'm sorry to go on for so long, but that's the one that I think we should get. I think we should get that one done first, because I think it's such an important position to go and improve in the summer.
And the fact that it's cheap. And the fact that he's cheap still, like, it's not even like, oh, like, is he worth like the expense? You know, he's not even going to be that expensive. And I know Kieran O'Connell raised a really good point there. Like, maybe his price might be more after the Europa League, but we kind of just talked about earlier, like, what's weird about the Bundesliga is a bit more cash strapped than what we're used to. And so they are going to take, you know, lesser prices. And then the other thing as well is, I think with Kostic, I think the contract's up in 2023 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that's also
this is the other thing. The negotiating end of it is actually on Kostic's side, and it seems like he wants to leave at this season no matter what. So what the big issue, I think, Kieran, I think what he's right about, though, is maybe it might turn into a bidding war where somebody offers 15 million. But unless Kostic doesn't exactly care or prefer which one he goes to, it might turn into like a bidding war, which end up being like 35 million or something for him.
But you know what? That's the thing. You know what? Like, and that's why I also say about the system and Conte's influence and that sort of aspects of buying players. If you're Filip Kostic, and I'm not saying that he's not got a football brain. I mean, he probably has an excellent football brain. And if he was intelligent and he was to look at the trajectory of his career, I think he's been a very underrated player for a lot of his career. I think he deserves a big move before he turns, 31, 32. If you look at all the big clubs around the world, not many are playing three at the back. I think the only other club, in my opinion, that would be a shoe glove fit for him would be Chelsea, just because their left backs are having a bit of injury issues, and Alonso I don't think is that good. I can imagine Chelsea coming in for him and sort of having him and Chilwell sort of competing when Chilwell's back fit and Alonso sort of being moved on. But it's just one of them where Conte's system for Filip Kostic wouldn't be that much different to Frankfurt, and for him to play down that left wing, I think he would be protected enough with a left centre back coming in that he could do that. And I really do believe that, like I said, for the price that he is, you're not going to really find many better left wing backs that do his job anyway. So he probably is the best sort of, if you want to say pound for pound in terms of worth, 15 million for a player that's going to do everything that maybe a 50, 60 million left wing back is going to do. You go for Tino Livramento, he's going to cost you 50 million pounds. He's probably going to be on the level of Kostic as he gets older. He probably is already a competent left back at 19 years old, but you're never going to get Tino Livramento for less than 40, 50 million pounds. So that's the thing. Go for Kostic, man. Really and truly, go for it.
Just quickly, I think maybe a good way to also frame Kostic is, I don't know about you, but from last season and until he got injured this season, Robin Gosens was probably like my favorite left wing back like in the world. I kind of thought
I agree.
I kind of thought he was realistic for Spurs at one stage too, because I was thinking like if he wants to move away from Atalanta and play in a Conte system, I was thinking like he would be incredible, at the position that we have. Unfortunately,
and that's why he went into, to be fair, isn't it?
Fortunately, he made that very smart move for himself.
I mean, it's going to fit like a glove there.
Yeah. But is Kostic, if not the next best thing, if not better, do you feel like than Robin Gosens, to put it in perspective?
I think Gosens is better. I think, like you said, I think everybody realized how serious Gosens was in that Euros.
In the Euros.
That was the Euros was the real.
He was their best player, I thought.
He was amazing in the Euros. And I was like, I rated Gosens like that. And I know, obviously, Melo and Gosens are the two fullbacks that everybody is sort of.
It's like the German Marcelo, I feel like Robin Gosens.
Yeah, and it's like, when I was like, everybody needs to watch out for these Atalanta fullbacks because they just churn them out like it's nothing. And Castagna came from Atalanta, and I think he's a great player as well at Leicester. When you realise that they churn these fullbacks out like it's nothing, I just sort of paid attention. Gosens was unreal in the Euros. So for him to go to Inter makes complete and utter sense. I'm not surprised by that. That's a really, really good shout as well. If worse
Dwight McNeil to go to Atalanta, I think it's a brilliant move for Dwight McNeil. That would be a brilliant move for him if he wanted it.
That's what I mean. And even like I said, the worst comes to worst, I would take him at Tottenham as a left wing
I
back,
like Dwight
because
McNeil.
I
I've been a
think
fan of
if
his.
you
I think
play
he's
for
good.
Burnley, you're gonna have some sort of defensive quality about you just from playing
I
for
think if you
Burnley.
show any offensive capability at Burnley, it means you're a good
Then
player
yeah,
because you're
and
just
that's all I
surrounded
need to
by a
say.
graveyard of it. So if you can create something out of nothing for Burnley, it
Hundred
shows that you
percent.
can create something in a good team by the
So
looks of it.
so
That's
that's
my
that's I'd go
preference.
for Kostic. Obviously, Gozens would probably be my ideal choice.
Oh
And
yeah,
Livramento again, mentioning Livramento again, I think Tino Livramento is destined to be one
love
of the
it.
best left backs in the world. I think he's, for a 19-year-old to do that well for Southampton, I think is crazy. And then
Just
also
quickly,
Joachim
what are your thoughts on
Melo,
Cucurella? Just quickly, what are your thoughts on
another
Cucurella?
that's
I love
another
Cucurella. I actually
another good
labeled
one.
him
Yeah,
with stats with Jack. I said I think he's Brighton's best player. I think
another
he's their
really
best player
really
by
good
far.
shout. And his hair is so distinguishable as well. So I don't even have to
Pirate.
really like. You know exactly when you're watching him play because you just see that hair flowing about. It's like, yeah, that's Cucurella. He's really good as well. I just don't think that Brighton will sell because
No,
is he on loan there or did they actually
no, they
sign
bought
him?
him from Getafe. They
Did
bought him
did
from
they buy him? So yeah, I don't think he'll go anytime soon. For me, yeah, those options would be Kostic the best. Dwight McNeil probably would be my second choice again. English and homegrown, I think that would be a good option. But again, it's just
Spinazzola.
fitting the system.
Spinazzola.
Spinazzola did he have a big injury or
Yeah, he had a big injury this
that's
season.
my only reason why I wouldn't. But again, in the Euros before he got that, it was in the Euros he got the injury, wasn't it? He was having a really good Euros and
Yeah,
he got injured. Yeah, I think is he back? Is he back playing now? I've not actually been
I
paying
think he is
attention.
getting back to the swing of things. I
Cool.
believe he might be,
I,
but Spinazzola, if he were to come back, I would certainly take him. I feel like what was mentioned earlier, Cucurella, I think is just secretly just one
good
of my
shout.
favorite players in the Premier League. I just think he's just a baller. He even showed that he could play as a left-sided center back. Like that's just ridiculous considering his height. He's actually a bit of a pest, as well, like
He's like a
Cucurella. Like
pit bull, isn't he? Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. I think he's just brilliant. I think he is probably, I'll admit, a better version of Reguilon in a
Yeah,
lot of
no,
ways. In a lot of
100,000%.
ways,
That
and
is, yeah.
I think he would do what
He's
he
everything I
he
expected
might have
Reguilon
the
to be.
same problem Reguilon does. Maybe when he's in the box or something, he might have a similar problem
Mm.
to Reguilon when it comes to finishing. But I think he's just a better player. Reguilon is still an amazing player, in my belief. I think sometimes we're a bit too harsh on him, but
Yeah.
I think Cucurella is just unbelievable. I mean, an
Mm-hmm.
incredible pickup. That left wing back discussion was solid. I'll admit
Mm-hmm.
that was a solid
It was a
discussion
very
there.
good one, but I think it's worthwhile because it's with Conte, it's an important position. Obviously, most people
Correct.
don't really see those fullback positions as important, but when you're under a Conte system, it's very very important.
Next one is the creative midfielder. For a long time, we were thinking Conte does he even want a creative midfielder, but apparently he does. What do you
Nice.
think is the best one here? And we've been linked pretty heavily with a lot of these here. Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, I've seen mentioned a few times, and since I do think he is worth putting in the conversation because I think he is that good, I've decided to put him in there. Zaniolo, we've been recently rumored with, could be also an interesting choice, or you could go with the free with Christian Eriksen. I think this is a really good debate because you have to
Good
take into
debate.
consideration price. You have to take into consideration, which one fits in the Conte system the best. You have to take into consideration the age, so many different options here. I think each one you could actually make a case for. I'm not kidding. If you were a big Zaniolo fan, I could see someone, saying, listen, this is why he'd be better than the rest of them. If you're a big Sergey fan, I could see why you would say, no, it's no question it's Sergey. If you're a big Eriksen fan, like I know Mike Hotspur Hessler is, I know he would say, Eriksen for this one. So Darius, tell me which one.
I was a big Zaniolo fan, but when you bust your knee out twice, I think that does a lot to you, especially to do it twice. I think that if I bust my knee out twice, especially I think it was an ACL, wasn't it? I think it was ACL or one of the ligaments. I just don't see how you're not playing with that in the back of your mind for even if it was 5% in the back of your mind. It's always going to linger around, and I always think he will struggle with injury. I hate to say that about a player, but I think you do have to consider it, especially with the fee
Look
that
at that hair as well, though. I mean, it's
he'll
just
command a big fees. Great hair. I think he's got a good look as well. I think he's got a great. I think he's actually a really good player. He's really, really, really fast, deceivingly fast, and with the ball and without the ball. But I think those injuries just don't make it worth it for me. Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, I think is amazing, but I don't think is what we necessarily need, and I don't think the money that we do need him, but I think he'd be an upgrade on Højbjerg. I think he'd be a better version of Højbjerg in a system. I just don't think the
Wow, I
money.
don't even know. I think he. Do you know what I think he is? I think he's that goal scoring midfielder we've been looking
Do
for.
you see? I
Because
do
he
see
pops
that.
up with the goals. He
Mm,
makes those
got a
late
great
runs
shot.
into the box where he wins
Mm,
headers. He can hit something from 40 yards and absolutely scream it in. He has the techers to be able to, get through a press and whatnot, but he also can get stuck in. I think what he really is if we went to the 3-5-2, if you went Højbjerg, Bentancur, Sergey, you would be like, that is a midfield that will have caused broken bones, but that
yeah,
is also midfield that has a goal scorer in there in Sergey. Because
yeah.
Sergey likes to play as sort of like that box to box number 10. I think he's sort of a weird kind of player where he's kind of like Pogba, where like they're not really a regular center mid like a number 8, because
Mm-hmm,
you're kind of ruining them if you make them just that. But if
mm-hmm,
you allow them to play as like a number 10 that also tracks back every now and
mm-hmm.
again, then you're getting the best out of them. And I feel like that's what Sergey is for me. And so I'm just going to interrupt you. And I know I've done this a few times,
No, go
Darius,
ahead,
but
please.
I'm going Sergey. If I'm have
Okay.
any money, I think, and also I know we bought Kostic earlier, but this team has been dying for itches. I think there's an itch shortage probably over at Spurs at this time. So I'm going Kostic, and then I'm also getting Sergey Milinkovic-Savic. I think Sergey is just been disrespected for so long, to
Incredibly.
be honest. Like the fact that even when people say like, oh, I guess like he's a really good player, I think he's like up there. I'm like, no, Sergey is like up there with the top midfielders in the world. No question. I think he's
Um,
even better than Paul Pogba. Maybe like Paul Pogba is just prettier on the eye with things that he does, but like
Nicer
Sergey has been
haircuts.
a beast for years, and he's called the general for a reason. And that's also the reason why I want him, is because he gives you that work rate. It's not like he's kind of a prima donna sort of kind of attitude
Mm.
or anything. He gives you that work rate. He gives you that enthusiasm. Even look at the photo there. It's just no question. But also just pops up with the goals. And I think what we've been needing is a goal scoring midfielder. The whole reason we bought Tanguy was supposed to be a goal contributing or at least goal scoring midfielder. The whole reason we bought Gio was a goal scoring midfielder. And we've been kind of missing on that sort of kind of position for years. And I think Sergey could be the answer. And I don't think in any way could he be a flop in the Premier League. I think he's made for the Premier League.
I
There's
mean,
my monologue. Sorry, everybody.
I'm very much struggling to now argue anything because I do agree with everything you say. And my only argument for you would be just I would like to save my money a little bit for maybe
Yeah,
another
I
position.
might be cheating on my budget here. I might be cheating on my
But
budget here.
if you were going to spend the money, and again, I'm just going to say this again, Ayanami has the stats: 9 goals, 10 assists in Serie A. That's amazing. That's incredible stats. If Jack Kinnicky, flat cap himself, the Don says anything about midfielders, if you don't know who Bruno Guimaraes is, please listen to Jack because he was tooting a Bruno Guimaraes horn for a long time. And you can see what he's doing at Newcastle. So if Jack's tooting the horn of Sergei Milinkovic-Savic this much, he must be very, very, very good. And I agree with you. I do think he's good. The only other player in this creative midfielder section who's not on this list, in my opinion, I'm going Ericsson on this. My only reason is because obviously the money, I think Ericsson would actually do quite well returning. I don't think he needs that much minutes, especially with obviously the horrible things that happened in the Euros with him. I think a lot of the Tottenham fans have forgotten how they treated him. I definitely forgotten how I treated him going out of his career at Tottenham. I would love Ericsson back. I think he's doing a very good job at Brentford. I think he wouldn't even really mind if he wasn't playing that much football for Tottenham if we were in the Champions League and we were doing quite well. So I'll take
You even
Ericsson
got
out
the
of them.
teacher agreeing with you. You got the Tottenham teacher agreeing with you on this one. Mario, good to see you as well, brother.
I think that's a smart choice. I do think Ericsson would be good. However, if I had to choose an expensive player, I'm choosing Dominic Szoboszlai. That's the one I'm going for.
Wow.
Only because I think he does it a lot, if not everything that
Pulling on my heartstrings
Milinkovic-Savic
there,
does.
Darius.
He's very young, and that we were talking about the set piece
Best
delivery.
striker of the ball in world football. That's what we both established. Better
There's
than De
nobody
Bruyne, in
else
my
who can
opinion.
put a ball in the box and you can just strike a ball like Szoboszlai. I
think
think
he has
just
a
having him
remote
in the
control
team,
putting the ball every game.
100%. He's got cheat codes in his feet. I think Szoboszlai would do everything that Milinkovic-Savic would do. And I actually think, again, speaking about obviously Leipzig and them churning out players and this and that, I do actually think you'd probably be able to get him cheaper than Milinkovic-Savic as well, to be honest with you. So My personal choice would be Szoboszlai, but on that list, I'm going to go Eriksen. But again, I am not against SMS at all because I didn't even know he had 9 goals and 10 assists. I don't think people understand how incredible that actually is to get from a centre
For the
mid
position that he plays.
for the
It's
position.
like
And
basically number
9
8.
goals and
Yeah.
10 assists is, I'm thinking what Kane's on. Kane's on something like 12 or 15 goals and 8 assists. So that's an unbelievable. I didn't know that he had that many goal
I don't even think he doesn't take penalties because Chiro takes penalties.
I'm gonna have to watch a little bit
penalties.
more about. I'm gonna have to watch a bit more of his performances because
I think what I like about him is that he's good in the air. That's what I also like about, he'll pop up. He'll do that Suchek run. He'll do that Suchek run, that late run into the box, and you just whip it into him, and he'll just absolutely dominate somebody in the air to win it as well. So he's willing to be physical, which is what I like about him. But going back to Szoboszlai, I've said this before a few times. I have this theory, Darius, that great players, they leave almost like eggs of themselves, like Easter eggs of themselves, for the future, where it's like, I think it's the case with, like Philip Lahm left, the Easter egg of Joshua Kimmich, like all of a sudden Kimmich, like appears out of nowhere. Yeah, like where, because there's certain players in the world where you're kind of worried, like, will there ever be another one of them? And I never worry about that because I think they leave like reincarnations of themselves, for the future. And I have a feeling that Szoboszlai, we have those rumors of Puskás and, that Hungarian team from way back then that supposedly was actually one of like the best teams of all time. Technically, I have a feeling that Puskás left a little, Easter egg of himself, for the future. And Szoboszlai is just one of those players, those magical players.
Freak. Just a genuine, like, I don't like to use that word for, like, you use it for players of sort of physical nature who's got freakish physical nature. But in terms of technique and the way he can kick a ball, I will actually say this. I actually do think it is on the same level as Kevin De Bruyne, and I don't care how
further.
I'll argue it with anybody who wants to. I don't really care if people think that's a crazy statement. If you actually look at the way he strikes a ball, some of the free kicks he's scored, it's like Çalhanoğlu. It's like it's ridiculous. Those 3 for me are the best strikers of footballs in world football. It's Çalhanoğlu, Szoboszlai,
Çalhanoğlu, good shout.
De Bruyne. Those 3 are just.
I might throw Ziyech in there as well. I actually think Ziyech.
And Ziyech as well.
For someone with pencil legs, like I've never seen a guy with such pencil legs.
Power in his foot
so hard.
Yeah. It's just quality, technique. I'm very much a fan of technique. And then, as Marquis said in the comments, I know he mentioned way earlier in the stream about sort of how good Szoboszlai was, but he is literally playing in a team that is so press heavy and so dependent on quick transitions. It would fit in this Conte system. And I also think he would be able to play from deep as well, to be honest with you. I really do think that Bastoni, not Bastoni, that Brozovic role that he played for Inter under Conte, where he was just basically spraying balls from deep. I think if needed to against the right teams, I think Szoboszlai could do that role. He could play as a number 6 and just spray balls from deep, or he could play as a box-to-box 8, be working up and down the pitch, or he could be complete creative number 10. And dominate in that middle. That's why I think I would go for him, because I think he's got a lot more versatility. But Savic, Eriksen, all of them I think have their benefits. All of them have their benefits.
Savic worth the money for you?
Yeah. No, if you were to spend the money on Savic, I would not be against that.
Let's say
Definitely.
70. Let's say they say 70 million euros. 70 million euros.
Yeah. Even 70 million pounds. I think 70 million. Yeah. I was going to say 70 million pounds max.
Worth
again, it. I think you've seen enough from him. If you nickname the General, and Ndombele was never nicknamed the General, was he? If you nickname the General and you've got 9 goals, 10 assists, I think you can put your money on him that he will be better than I think Ndombele was very much a City are linked with him. We need a big signing because we got in the Champions League final.
That'd be the most oxymoronic title for Ndombele.
Exactly. So, the General. And again, Marquis is saying that Szoboszlai is on 32.5k a week, and I'm pretty sure Milinkovic-Savic won't be on much. There's so many.
Just, again, it goes back to the Leipzig conversation of like they almost disrespect their own players because they just know they'll just find another one, so they won't even offer somebody 100k a week because they just know they don't need to.
No,
which is just
crazy. I don't get how they've sort of sold centre backs, sold fullbacks, and replace them. So it's scary. It is very, very scary. It's very, very scary. But you know what? That's why I respect them. That's why I don't really have the hatred for them that I know. Probably if I was from Germany and I was, living in Germany and sort of seeing a club just worked their way up and your club was not getting anywhere. I would be a lot more angry. But from a neutral looking at it from a standpoint,
At least it's clever. At least
they're
running
going
it in a
they're
clever
going
way.
to countries where a lot of these European countries were not giving a lot of African countries any opportunities
Correct.
to see
Well
these
said.
youth and
They grew Keita. I
this
mean,
is
the
what I'm
fact
saying.
Keita, like imagine him like years ago was the best midfielder in Europe, and
These
it
these
hasn't
these
exactly
teams
worked
are
out with
not
Liverpool, but he like another great find, great point,
these
Jay.
teams are not going to these countries to source these talents, and there's a lot of talent in Asia, in India, in places like this, and in Africa. These countries are producing a lot of talent, and these players are a natural, very it's within them and their sort of lifestyle and culture just to be hardworking people because they haven't come from a lot. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people sort of critique Leipzig and Salzburg and the Red Bull group for doing that, but I actually think of it as giving these people opportunities. And you look at the Manes, you look at the Caters, and they're world famous superstars giving back to their community, and they were given that opportunity by the Red Bull group. So I think again they are taking a piss out of their players by not paying them right, but they know that their players are going to be able to go to a bigger club and get the money they deserve. So they should just carry on doing what they're doing. And if they win an odd trophy here and there, I think the model is perfectly fine. I think they're making money, they've got an established position in the league, and they're just producing so. I mean, look how many players we've spoke about from that team and players to buy for us. They're just producing so much talent, and they'll continue to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Ericsson 43%, Zaniolo not getting a lot of love, which is sad. But Milinkovic-Savic has one with 54%, but that is very, very, very close. Very close. Everybody. Ericsson. A lot of people are just making the case though, like free. Maybe Ericsson might win that one. I think Ericsson might win that one, regardless of Sergey winning the vote, because the price perhaps does need to be taken into consideration. I know Mike Hotspur Hustler would be absolutely happy with that one. But central midfielder, this one I think is perhaps an interesting one because we're linked with all these guys, but do you even see it happening? Florian Grillitsch, we've been linked with before. He could play as like a deep line playmaker / could also be, that Dyer kind of backup in case something went wrong with Dyer, or if he's even better than Dyer, who knows? You have Conrad Leimer as kind of that box to box midfielder, something kind of similar to, I think, a Højbjerg, just with more pace, you could probably say, but then can play right wing back. I've seen him play right wing back. Weston McKennie is an amazing version of a box-to-box midfielder. And then you have Yuri Tielemans, who's kind of a box-to-box midfielder, but could also be a deep-lying playmaker, as well. He can be a lot of different sort of things. So this one is tough for me. But if I were to pick, I know I spent big on Sergey. So I'm going to go for Florian Grillitsch here. I'm going to go for Florian Grillitsch.
This
and
is
I love
where
Conrad Leimer and I love Weston McKennie, but I'm going to go for Florian Grillitsch here.
I'm going to flex my money muscles now because I've been saving like a very good child. And I'm going to sort of break your rules a little bit as well. And I'm
Please do. I broke it last time.
I'm going to buy two from this section just because I didn't buy Milinkovic-Savic, who I think is a creative midfielder, but I think also could be very, very fine in playing that central midfield role. I'm going to buy Leimer and Grillitsch, and I think that would be very, very, very good for our team. If we're buying Ericsson as well, like I said in the last choice with a creative midfielder, if we've got Ericsson, Leimer, and Grillitsch, I think that's a centre mid in each position, and in that midfield role, like an attacking mid, a central midfielder, like a proper box to box in Leimer, and a proper defensive midfielder with crazy tackle numbers, crazy passing numbers, and actually an eye for a goal as well in Grillitsch, and actually a capable player of playing centre back as well. So, or you Dyer, fan on Dyer, not Dyer fans, but people who aren't fond of Dyer, you got Grillitsch, you might be able to cover Dyer in that centre back position. I'm going to go Grillitsch and Leimer. McKennie, I understand. I think McKennie is he good? Conte flipping loves him. I've seen so many reports Conte wanting him so badly. I like him. I think he's good. I don't think he's as good as everyone makes him out to be. And even for Tielemans, I'm actually not a big fan of Tielemans at all. I don't think Tielemans is worth the money that he probably, or Leicester would probably want for him. I think he's good, but I just don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. He's conceded like 2 or 3 penalties. I've literally seen, not even from the stats, I can tell you that he's conceded 2 penalties because I've watched both games which he has. And it's just a case of him sticking his leg out and just, it's not lazy defending, but it's the quality. It's just not good quality defending, and you need that in a system that Conte in the midfield as well. I mean, Bentancur has set a very, very high benchmark for me. I mean, he's come in and been perfect almost for me. So Grillitsch, Leimer, Ericsson, Skip, Højbjerg, I think is 5. Very, very, very,
It's
very
not flashy, but it's beautiful. It's
work
not
hard,
flashy, but it's beautiful.
workhorse quality, like workhorse midfielders. And I would take those 5 midfielders over the 5 that we've got or had before with Lo Celso and Ndombele, just because I know that, again, and I've said this to you on streams before, I will take a player who's going to put in a 7 out of 10 or a 6 or 7 out of 10 every game than a player who's going to put in a 9 and then a 4 and then maybe a 7 and then a 2. I need consistency. I think it's so important. I think it shows and it separates a world-class player from a really good player. And Lima for me would be perfect. He's got.
I feel like you're Limer's like big fan. Like I feel like what you've credited me for Bruno G, but I'm gonna credit you for Konrad Laimer.
I'm such a Konrad Laimer fan, man. Oh my gosh,
he was unbelievable against Atalanta as well. Like in that second leg, like the guy was just like, I think there was one player that he just left for absolute. People don't talk about how quick Konrad Laimer is. He actually might be one of the fastest center mids, I think, in just world football, because he was leading some counterattack, and I think it was like. I think it must have been like Darun or like Hateboer or whoever it might have been, or like Freuler for Atalanta. And the guy was like panting, running after him, like, leading this counterattack. It was unbelievable. Konrad Laimer, everybody. This is why I think he could even be a right wing back if you needed him to. And I've seen him play it before because he also has some legs on him. This guy.
He gives me that Joshua Kimmich vibe where, if you were to put Kimmich in, I think if you put Kimmich in any position on the pitch, I'm talking centre back, right back, left back, centre defensive mid, centre attacking mid, left wing, striker, right wing. I think if you put Joshua Kimmich in every single one of them positions, he'd give you a very good performance. I also think Lima could do, obviously maybe not up front and on the wings, but again, like a right back, a left back, a centre attacking mid, a centre defensive mid, a centre mid, even a centre back. I think Lima could do a job. I think Konrad Lima is one of the best centre mids in the world, and I'm not saying that just to sort of the same way, like it's literally the same way you put Bruno Guimaraes in that echelon. And I didn't realize how good he was until I was watching like the last few games of him for Lyon, and then he came to Newcastle. He got barely played at the start, and I'm thinking, I just want to see him play. As soon as he gets given time, the guy is just running the Premier League like it's nothing. And for a Newcastle team that hasn't even improved that much, if they go out and get good players, I mean, it's only going up for them. So yeah, for me, Konrad Laimer fits. He would be, and I said this too, this was on a Paxton stream, he would be the Barella that, obviously, if you wanted to get Barella light, it would be amazing. But I think he's exactly the same as Barella, if not better, in my opinion. So
whoa!
I'm being serious. I'm being serious. I love him. I think Barella's incredible, but there's something about Konrad Laimer that I just, when you can defend, work hard, create a pass so well, just there's everything about him that there's nothing that I can't fault in his gameplay. And even his strength, he's not a tall guy, but even his strength, he's a strong guy. Barella isn't the strongest guy, but Barella has a lot of qualities. But that's my hot take. That's my hot take of the entire stream. I genuinely believe Konrad Laimer is a better midfielder than Nico Barella, and I would rather him than Nico Barella if we had to have a choice. And he'd be way cheaper as well. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm going to say.
You and Kieran are in the same boat, here. And I would say, like I just wrote down here, there's something about Laimer, according says Darius here. It seems like there's a bit of love. I'm loving this Laimer love. I'm loving this Laimer love. I think that's spectacular, to be honest. Florian Grillitsch, Konrad Laimer, you couldn't be smarter and you couldn't be more 5,000 IQ.
One's a free as well, isn't he? Grillitsch should be free, wouldn't he?
I think you've outsmarted me. I've gone for the flashy one. Someone flashed me the big one with the Sergey. I was like, like a bee, looking at a big, honeycomb. I just went straight for it. Darius, like you said before, decided to be a good, kind of a good kid, decide to save up his money and, spend wisely and not go for the big flashy lights of the Sergey Milinkovic-Savic. He's gone for the 5,000 IQ signing of Konrad Laimer and Florian Grillitsch. He's basically also as well, gotten that, kind of Dyer replacement / Dyer kind of competition. He's gotten 2 players that can play in multiple positions. They aren't like kind of beholden to one sort of area as well. I think that was honestly Darius 1,000.
If any of these transfers actually happen, I know we need a lot of signings, but I mean, we're talking about players that we're actually linked with. I just searched Filip Kostic's name and I'm seeing our name linked with him, and I'm seeing like these players that would fit our system so well actually being linked with our team. And please, just I'm praying. Even if we don't sign Lima, I'm praying we can get a couple of these players in because it would just help so much for our team. And again, when we get onto these ones, this is my hardest one, and I'm very interested to see where you're going to go with this one because
I'm
I
actually
haven't
gonna
got
pull
a
out. You
clue.
pulled off ones that aren't on the page. If I actually just gonna get this out here,
I haven't got a clue.
if I could go for the one that isn't on the page here, and we've been linked with him once or twice, but it was very like, circumstantial. I would go for Charles de Ketelaere.
How can
I
I
see Charles de
forget? Oh my
Ketelaere.
gosh!
I think Charles de Ketelaere. It's not a realistic one because I just don't see it happening. But
You think
I
he's
would
going to
go
go
for
somewhere else,
Charles
or
de
you think he'll
Ketelaere
stay
because
at Club Brugge?
he could be the next. If anybody's going to be similar to Harry Kane, it would be Charles de Ketelaere. I could
Mm,
see him getting similar because he's extremely tall. So he
mhm,
could have maybe that if he beefs up a bit, he could have that hold up play. He has unbelievable technical ability like Harry Kane does. He's more of a link up man, anyways. Like he's not as much of like the pure goal scorer,
mhm,
sort of player. He's much more of a link up kind of guy, which means that he could learn from Harry Kane in that regard and then maybe learn a bit of the finishing kind of attributes from him. Left
mhm.
footed. I do love a lanky left footed player, as well. If I could pick anybody that isn't on the screen, I'd go for Charles de Ketelaere. But again, we have to honor the rules. These are the players that I think have been heavily linked with Spurs this season.
God,
And another outside the box here, Darius, with me, I'm actually going for either Depay or Richarlison.
really?
Yeah,
That's
I'm not.
wild.
I think Dybala. I did a video on it a while back on this channel. If you look at Dybala's best season ever with Juventus, it's not really that impressive when you really look at
Mm,
it. His best season ever with Juventus is not as impressive as one might actually think. And in
mm.
fact, Depay's best ever season with Lyon absolutely smacks him out of the park.
He was
In
carrying them
terms of
at one
like
point, wasn't
numbers
he?
as well. I think it was something like he had like 10 or 12 more goal contributions in his best ever season than Dybala did. And then my other thing with Dybala is, does he play as a backup striker? I don't think so. I don't think he could play and lead the line by himself. Whereas the rest of these three could. I could see them leading the line by themselves in case Harry Kane were hurt. They could also play a second position in case
Hmm.
Harry Kane were hurt. Dybala is probably that's what he's better at than the rest of these. Is maybe playing that other position that
Hmm.
maybe that could fit into the lineup.
Hmm.
But my big issue is you're trying to find somebody that can either complement Harry Kane or fill in for Harry Kane if need be. And I think that's the best ones for that are Depay and Richarlison for your money. I've also cognizantly already spent a lot of money. So, I couldn't go for the big flashy Lataro there. But the way you say Lataro, sometimes I feel like it sounds like a Pokemon. But um, but but I've gone for Depay and Richarlison. If I had to pick between the two, I think I would go Depay just because I've been kind of a secret Depay fan because I think he's matured a lot ever since that he's left Man United, and I think he's
Hmm.
beefed up a lot. He's
Hmm.
shown that he's kind of unplayable. Yeah, I know that he's been in the league on, but he's been unplayable for Ronald Koeman. He looked ridiculous there when that team looked garbage. With Barcelona, he still looked great. I think even with the national team, he still looks unbelievable, looks unplayable. I feel like he could come back to the Premier League and still be quality. But if you
Mm.
didn't want to take that risk, I would go Richarlison because Richarlison has been playing for bad teams his whole life. I feel like, and it's
That's
shown that
very
he is
true.
a good player. I remember his debut, in fact, with Marco Silva over at Watford. And the moment that guy subbed in, I was like, Jesus, this guy's built like a unit, and they said he was 19 or something at the time. I was
Mm.
like, where did they find this kid? Like, it felt like they built him in a factory, sort of
Mm.
player. And the moment that he came on, I remember he scored a goal in his debut, for Watford. I think he's a spectacular player that has honestly been playing for pretty garbage sides, his whole time. And I think if he wanted to mature a bit and maybe want to sit on the sidelines for just a few seasons or two, he could be, the next big player for a player like Spurs. And he's also still, what did they say? He's like still 23 or 24 or something like that. Like Richarlison, even younger, he might be 22 or like he's
Mm.
still absurdly young, a lot younger than people realize. And I think he's been actually a good player. I know he has attitude problems, but I actually kind of like his attitude problems, to be honest. I think it brings him that edge, kind of guy.
Yeah,
And
just
I
about to
think
mention,
he and
yeah.
Romero, if they were on the same team, I could see them causing a lot of havoc because they seem to hate each other. But imagine if they were
Mm.
on the same team. I think that would be
Master of the
hilarious.
dark arts, Richarlison. I think ever since
Yeah.
Lamella left, we need a bit more of it. I know Romero's brought a lot of it, but I can just picture in my head right now. And I am not the biggest fan of Richarlison. I do think it's because he's been playing around such bad teams. I probably see all the terribleness around him and think, oh yeah, he's one of them. But I will say, in terms of like the dark arts and just I can just picture in my head
Oh my God,
him
Limer, just quickly. Limer and McKennie finished on even 40% both.
really.
If you had
That's
to pick, I
interesting.
think you're going Limer, I would
Oh
imagine,
yeah,
between the
don't
two.
even ask me that question, my friend. Don't even ask me that question. I like McKennie, but I'm sorry, I don't want to be disrespectful to McKennie, so we'll keep that question out of the thingies. But I can just imagine
Keep going,
90th
yeah.
minute, we're winning 1-0, and Richarlison is just flopping over like a fish, going down for every single small touch that he takes. And I think you need that in football sometimes. I think he does it very well. I think he gets on every single rival fan's nerves, just like Mopé does. I think he's just one of those players that's good at doing that.
I think Richarlison actually underrated in the air too. I think he's underrated in the air.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like that list. I don't really like any of those players on that list, to be honest with you.
I think that's the whole point.
I'm not a fan of any of them, and the reason I'm gonna go for the expensive one because I think you probably do the best out of them all, and two because I've got some money saved. Unfortunately, Jack, I saved my money so I can spend it. So I have spent expensive in centre back and expensive in striker. The rest of my ones are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to break your rule. I think you chose one off the list. You chose Tecatelera. I recently have confirmed now who my sort of second favorite striker is, or should I say third favorite striker, because Dusan Vlahovic is my second favorite striker. But my third favorite young striker is easily Darwin Núñez. After the performance he put up against Liverpool.
Love it.
I didn't realize he was that good. I will say that. And if you're going to spend, and I know his agent, he's literally switched agents just so he can get a move this summer. If you're going to spend 70 million on a striker who I think will be guaranteed sort of a very, very, very good striker and a lot of goals, Darwin Núñez, the three disallowed goals he scored, or two disallowed goals he scored in that Liverpool game, the finishes, I mean, he chipped one, he put one round where he bent his body around. I couldn't believe. And then the one where he had a volley that was almost in, that was saved bottom corner. I couldn't believe some of the finishes that he was pulling off. And I think Darwin Núñez is probably going to be a very, 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 very good striker. I think you probably put him only second to like your Haalands and maybe even Dusan Vlahovic. I think he's better than Alexander Isaac. I think he's the Catalera and him are the closest to Harry Kane that you're probably going to get. I don't think you get anybody like Harry Kane, but those two players, especially the Catalera, because he's got the creative side of things as well. He definitely, that's such a good shout. I don't want to talk anymore because that's who I'm going to go for as well, because I completely forgot about him. I know we were talking about him in January.
We were linked with him only once for like a day, so I think it'd be cheating to put him in there.
We took that and ran with it because I know we all know how good he is. So
yeah, I could have ran with it, but I wasn't going to cheat today. But if I did have that, what's behind the door, extra option, that's the one I'm going for. The bottom Duda, good to see you as well. Absolute legend of both channels as well, and good to see you in here as well. As Ellie's in the house. A lot of them, she said, for all those midfielders, which I do agree with. She said none of them are Højbjerg, which I completely agree, Ellie. You don't need to tell me that. But everybody, think so far, I think we've reached kind of the end of the list here. I think we could wrap it up here, Darius, with maybe what we've officially gone for from the list. I'm gonna just be crazy here and have everybody rip into me. Going Richarlison on this one. What are you doing? Oh, you're on mute, my man.
I'm gonna go for. Oh yeah, I said Lautaro because he's just
you said Lautaro. That's right.
Best of the bad options, yeah.
And then I think you've gone for the beautiful Conrad.
Yeah, I went for Conrad, and then if you're going to give me the extra cheeky rule, I'm going to take Rich on a free as well. So that was my
1,000 IQ move by Darius there. That was 1,000 IQ. I think I went for just Grealish because I probably don't even have any money left. I'm probably actually in a bit of debt, actually, to be fair. I've had to take out a few loans with Levy, which I know will not end up going well.
I'm going to be happy about that.
I've gone for Sergey here, the big Sergey. I've said there's been just a sad lack of itches in this club, and I think there needs to be an itch revolution over at Spurs because it's you never go wrong with an itch. So I've gone for the man that has two itches in his name, Milinkovic-Savic. And Darius, I think you went for Eriksen.
I did. I'm saving my money. This is just because you know what, I don't know about you, but I was very surprised at how he's sort of been so influential in this Brentford team. I didn't think he would hit the ground running like this. He's obviously still got some gas left, so for a year or two, bit of a romance comeback. You know, we're back in the Champions League. You know, I think it could work. I think I'd like to
I
see
like it.
Eriksen one more time in a Spurs shirt. I think that would be nice for everyone, and let him leave on a proper, you know, on a proper good note with all of the fan base this time.
If you're really going for like the model photo shoots for like the kits, though, I think if you had Emerson, Zaniolo, and
Oh, jeez.
Sonny all in the same team, I mean, talk about models, you know, for the kids.
Money, 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 my
They
friend.
would
Money,
be
money, money.
unbelievable. Any kit that you did, put Emerson and Zaniolo in the same pick. I mean, they would just look absolutely fire, I must say, for any
Money.
kit. Maybe that's the whole reason to keep Emerson is just for the photo shoots. I would say, honestly, for
Shirt
those
sales pay
reasons.
for his weight is transfer fee.
He's got the best hats. He's got the best smile. He's got the best hair. I think that's the whole reason you keep him.
Love it.
Left wing back. I think we both went for Kostic. I think it's a bit of a
Yes.
no-brainer here, and it probably you pay any price, maybe, to be fair. But Borna Sosa maybe might have been the second place one if I'm not mistaken, which is certainly a good shout. And then I believe we all spent big on Bastoni. I think it was just a no-brainer. I think it was a no-brainer. But if I'm not mistaken, I think David might have gone for Botman or something like that. I know he is a big Sven Botman fan. And then number 2 for the center backs, if you wanted to find another one for Dyer, I know Darius went for the 1,000 IQ move again for Florian Grilic as kind of that Dyer sort of replacement. But then he also went for another very smart move by just spending very little on someone like De Vrij, if you wanted to. I think you just went for De Vrij. You weren't really rumored, you know, weren't linked with the Bremer, weren't really swayed by the Delict. I think I went for De Vrij, but I could actually sway myself to Bremer, maybe just be different. I'm actually going to change my mind and go for Bremer. And I know I've just taken on even more debt with Daniel Levy, which is just all cheating in itself. And then the last one, and then the last one here, I think you went for Jed Spence.
Yes, I did. Only because, again, I'll hold my hands up. I'm going to go and do a bit of research on Wilfried Singo because I've seen his name come up a lot more than Jed Spence recently. And Tariq Lamptey, for me, too much money, and he seems to get injured a lot. I mean, he's giving me Sessegnon vibes at the moment. And as good as Sessegnon is, can't, like you put it perfectly, can't even play backup left wing back at the moment. So how can he play left wing back if you can't even play backup left wing back that well?
Definitely. Well, everybody, we've reached the end of the show. Just quickly, I did tag it in the title, but Darius, I know a lot of people love you around here. What can they find over at Paxton Road / even just where can they find more of you, my man?
Yeah, I think hopefully, like I said, we are going live tonight. I hopefully will be on that show. I think that we are doing it on whether Conte needs a plan B or has a plan B. So that'll be quite an interesting topic to discuss going into the last sort of end of the season. And yeah, just stay alert on Paxton Road TV. You know, we're all coming up towards the end of the season now, so I think that content will be coming in quite thick and fast, and it will be quite juicy as well because you know we've actually got something to play for at the moment. So, and obviously the transfer window is coming up soon as well. So you know we've got our special transfer guru in Sid on Paxton Road, but I will always be on this show to do transfer talk because you know me and Jack, as much as we don't want to agree, we always end up agreeing too much on things. So I'm surprised we get an hour and a half of conversation out of each other because it seems like we're just saying, yep, no, I agree, yep. But it's always amazing to be on this channel.
I love it.
Everybody in the comment section, again, I say it all the time, but the amount of times I actually agree with you guys and see like names that I was thinking in my head and I'm thinking, oh, they got there before me before I could even say it on the stream. And it's like, it's very satisfying to see that the knowledge is shared. They hold us very, very well. I can't even compete with some of the knowledge in this comment section. So I'm very appreciative and it always helps. So no, thank you everyone. And like I said, we won't be much further apart. I think we'll be back on doing shows very soon, won't we? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I would say everybody, when it comes to Paxton Road, like I'm already, talking about Spurs plenty on the Irish Hotspur. That's so much I get, kind of sick of even at times, like even I just get sick of hearing my own voice. I would say I just get sick of hearing my own voice when it comes to Spurs. So whenever I do want to think about Spurs, I do actually head on to Paxton Road. I've said that to Shane lots of times. When I do find time to watch other Spurs content, it's Paxton Road for me. And it's always Paxton Road first, just because I think Mike, Sid, they're absolutely hilarious. I end up, getting good debates with them, end up having good back and forths as well. You also have Sid, who could win not only probably top 4, but also could win American Idol. Maybe Sid could as well. Mike, I think, has the best opinions out of nowhere. You'll end up at one day with the show, you'll end up agreeing with everything Mike says one day. Then the next day you'll disagree with everything Mike says.
That is very, very true.
Shane puts everybody to the fire with the questions. Honestly, makes much harder questions than I ever do. I feel bad for you guys. The fact he's not even like slipping you fivers after it, for some of the questions that he's giving you guys is honestly cruel.
No,
But I
it's
would
it's
say
brutal. It's brutal.
a
You know
good
what Sam's
family over
like.
there. A
It's
good
great.
family over there, and I love them over there. So please show them the support. And then as
Thank you so
well, I
much,
would
guys.
say head on over to Darius's Twitter as well, just to get in any of his maybe opinions on football or even
Mm.
anything else otherwise. Just a quick thought, Darius, there is a movie I'm about to see tomorrow called
What
The
is it?
Northman. Have you seen that being
No, I don't think
it's
I
that one with
have.
like
I've been slacking on
Skarsgård
the.
and like Willem Dafoe
Yeah,
and
I've seen it.
Nicole Kidman and everything.
I've
It's
been
that new
slacking on
Viking movie.
movies so much. You know what? Actually, I need you to send me a couple of recommendations for films because I've been very bored recently and I don't know what to watch. And I always find myself just going back to
That's the
watching
big one that I'm watching
Marvel
tomorrow. So
movies.
I would keep
So
a lookout for that one.
enjoy that for me and let me know how that is because I probably will follow you at the cinema. I have a cinema card that I don't use, which is awful because I can
Gotta
literally
good
watch as
use.
many movies as I like. So yeah, I need to make more use of that.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, that's all for now, everybody.
Take
Really
care,
do
guys.
appreciate everybody for tuning in for this one. Hit that like button on your way out. So many in here in the house tonight, and it seemed like they really enjoyed it. And I would really appreciate you guys hit that like button to send it out to more people, but also just really appreciate support, everybody. Really, so many good faces in the house, so many people that I really can call friends and people that I feel like I'm really close to in this chat. So it's really good to see you all in here. That'll be all for now, though. Darius and I, we will be seeing ya.